As we discussed a couple of weeks ago and last week, in regards to the Cures Act, when a patient is making an electronic health records request, now that whole suite of information that you keep electronically is now included in the data set that you're required to give the patient. That's everything, right? And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Last week, we talked about, okay, what happens when you do get the request and you're unable to do it because you're not utilizing certified software. Of course, you have to go through the negotiation steps. But the last thing, once you have gone through all of that negotiation with the individual patient, this is really important on a case-by-case basis. After that, then you could potentially implement or claim the infeasibility under the circumstances exception to Cures Act. And so a lot of these software vendors that aren't certified are telling you, oh, just tell them that it's not possible and you can get waived. No, you still have to go through all of the steps with each requester, each patient that makes a request like that. That's an important thing to remember. Now, this is what it comes down to. However, you can't just say, I can't do it. You actually have to have a written policy. So the law and the rules require that you have a written policy that addresses 6 separate factors that you have to have taken into consideration. I'll list those down below just so you have them handy, but here's what they really are. Incidentally, you have to address those in the written policy. So we suggest actually that you include them specifically in the policy to clearly demonstrate that you did take each one of those factors into consideration when you wrote the policy. So here's what they are. 1, the type of electronic health information and the purposes for which it may be needed. So you kind of have to look at your entire suite of electronic health information and include that down below. Now, this also means that you have to adjust this policy if you make a shift later. So right now, if you're doing everything on handwritten documents or calendar or whatever for your appointments, you want to make sure if you move that to electronic that you have to address that in this policy as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the cost to you of complying with the request in the manner requested. So you want to address it that, hey, and this isn't really feasible. There's only, I think as of today, I believe there's only 2 actually Cures Act certified chiropractic centered software systems out there right now. So, maybe it's cost prohibitive for you to make that change. You have to actually address that in your policy. The third is the financial and technical resources available to you. So you have to address that in the policy as well. In other words, you have to indicate that there is no actual true way for you to be able to make an adjustment in your practice to be able to meet the needs of the patient. And it's not saying that you can't. It's just saying you have to address these issues inside the policy. And if you ignore any one of these, then the policy probably isn't going to be good enough. You want to make sure you address all of the factors, right? You want to address the whether or not your practice is non-discriminatory and that you provide the same access, exchange, or use of the EHI, the electronic health information to your customers, suppliers, partners, and most importantly, your patients, right? So you have to address non-discrimination in your policy. You also then have to address whether or not you own or have control over technology platform and health information exchange or health information network through which the information could be exchanged. So you just have to address that. You're not going to, you don't have certified system, address that in the policy. And then lastly, why you're unable to provide the access or exchange or use of the electronic health information consistent with the content and manner exception. This last thing is really important. You want to make sure that you address all of that inside the policy. Once your policy is written, here's what you have to remember. You must still respond to the patient in a window of 10 days as to why you can't. And your response really should include the information that we just covered that's already inside your policy. So don't just sit back and think, no big deal, I don't have a certified system, I can't do it. I can tell the patients I can't do it. You want to make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed. It's another reason why we all should be asking our electronic health records companies if they're going to step up and begin the process of true certification of Cures Act certification. And that really is important. It's going to be important for our future. There are 683 different EHR systems out there that are 2015 Cures Act certified, which is the latest certification level. only 2 are chiropractic centric. So we want to make sure that we hold our EHR companies accountable and let them know that this is important. It's important to the patients, and it's important to the profession. It's important to you and your practice. We'll catch you next week.